Welcome back to the Hockey Show, and we are taking a look at the upcoming round in the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Florida Panthers. On this is an interesting series, a series I never thought would happen, and I say that I'm sure it's happened before, but I don't think it has, and what an interesting one. Florida versus Toronto, and what an interesting story we've got going into this one. On one hand, in the red team, we've got the team that beat the best regular season team of all time from a 3-1 comeback. An unreal story, scoring goals out like crazy because they are offensive specialists with a nice touch of goaltending in the back, and they are something special, rocking their amazing jerseys. While on the other side, you've got the team who couldn't win a series for 19 years in the blue corner. You've got the team that couldn't win, that couldn't get over the hill for so many years with such an elite talent and core on the ice. But they finally do it in the rematch against the 3-time Stanley Cup finalist and the best team probably built in forever in the Tampa Bay Lightning. You've got the Toronto Maple Leafs wearing their classic sweaters. What a combo we got here. Red versus blue. The story, it all writes itself, and this is a fun series to look at. But I gotta tell you, here's my main thoughts on this upcoming series. For Toronto, I thought Tampa Bay was the better team throughout their series, and I think Toronto, through Tampa not being able, I should say, score on their chances and just not being able to have that finishing touch, that killer skill, that killer instinct against the Toronto Maple Leafs, led to Toronto being able to steal the series with just getting a few goals that they probably shouldn't have deserved and got them the wins and got them the series, and they move on. Florida, on the other hand, they escaped death by sheer will and determination against the best built team in the NHL probably ever for one season. And they did it from a 3-1 comeback. Just my main thoughts, just looking at it on face value. Toronto got lucky. I hate using lucky, but they stole the series by Tampa just not being able to execute, and Florida escaped death by sheer will and determination. I'm just saying. So going into this one, you've got Toronto. I gotta say it. Sometimes during their series, they looked lazy. Bizinet, you could listen to him all the time on the TNT broadcast. You can hear all the time. They're breaking down like why they're being lazy. They're not back checking. They're not forechecking hard enough. They're out of position a lot, and you can see it all the time. Tampa looked in control, especially in that final game. Toronto looked, I don't want to say lazy, but they did. You know what? No, I will say they looked lazy. Especially Game 6, I think they definitely deserve to lose that one. They didn't look interested in Toronto. No, not in Toronto. In Game 5 in Toronto, they could have ended the series. They just looked lazy. They looked like they didn't want. I don't want to say they didn't want to win, but they didn't look like they wanted to be the heroes of the story. They didn't look like as if they wanted to be the superstar of the team. Everyone kind of looked to everyone else, and it was just kind of lazy. They weren't pressuring the puck a lot, and they had to fight for their opportunities. And by that, I mean, it's like, well, yeah, all teams have to. But by that, I mean, they had to find their chances to score. They weren't like running the zone all the time like the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's not like they were being dominated, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. They had to. It's like the Kraken against the Avalanche. They weren't getting all the opportunities possible. They had to find them. Samsonov is kind of mad at me. He's not really impressive. Sometimes he will impress me by being pretty above average, but then sometimes, especially that Isamont goal, he's just sometimes very bad and very sloppy all over the place, even when he's not getting scored on. Sometimes he's just flopping everywhere, and it's like, what the hell? Which goes to show you, like, Tampa Bay should have won the series, but they just couldn't find that killer instinct in them to pull off the win. So Toronto, they really need to tighten things up because they have a lot of issues. They have a lot of defensive issues, especially. Their depth need to play good defense. I think overall they're elite guys on the top, and they're showing up. I'm not saying they're not. Marner, Matthews, O'Reilly, Tavares, even throw in Riley back on the back end, are getting the points that they need to get. They are producing up there. And the top guys generate the offense, but everyone else who isn't wearing those names and numbers on their back need to be playing just good defense. Just keep things keep things to the outside, stay in the middle, good box, good unit. Don't let them skate inside of the lines, and that is where I think things are going to be difficult. Because I like guys like Jake McCabe defensively, but I gotta say, with Brody back there and Hall and Liljegren, I don't know if I really trust Toronto's defense. And Florida is a freaking offensive machine. They are a sword and dagger. Toronto, you could say they have like an axe and like a mini shield, where Florida is like where a sword and a dagger. If that makes any, in my head, I get the metaphor, but. Florida, they are a killing offensive scoring machine. Then I said it, that I've been calling it, that they were going to win that Boston series. I said it from the very beginning. I mean, I know in my predictions I said otherwise, but in everything else I was like, I just couldn't look like a fool online. And anyways, yes, Florida's offensive killing machines winning. They're built to win those 7-5 games, and that's what they did against the Boston Bruins. And they win those types of games. They can't keep them down, right? This isn't the type of team you can shut out. Florida is a team that is determined. They've got everything that they need to win. They bring the emotion. They bring the John Cena attitude of never giving up. They never quit. They just keep going. Their physicality and they are heated right now. They are fiery. They have the passion. They have the drive. They have the depth, and maybe Bobrovsky and net, but they have the depth and they have all the keys to win, right? And they have the story going into it. They've got all the pieces that I like better for Florida than in Toronto. So really, I think it comes down to Florida being the offensive killing machine. They are able to capitalize too. And that's what I think is the scary thing. Is because with Tampa Bay, they were having a very tough time being able to actually score on their opportunities. They couldn't do it. See, take a look at like the Avalanche versus Kraken, right? The Kraken, they didn't get a lot of chances, but they scored when they did get their chances. They didn't have even that amazing of chances, but when they did get a semi-good chance, they would score, and that's what won them that series, as well as Grubauer and net. But they scored on their chances, and Grubauer shut down the Avalanche. The Avalanche, they couldn't get past Grubauer, and not unlike, but is unlike, with the Tampa and Toronto series, is Tampa, Vasilevsky was not playing Grubauer good, and he was not shutting things down like he should be. And with the combination of Vazzy kind of being a little off throughout the series and Tampa being unable to just put the puck in the back of the net on their opportunities, and Toronto did. And that's the thing with them and the Kraken have alike, is I would say Toronto had more chances to score than Kraken did in the first round, but Toronto was able to actually score with O'Reilly's net front presence and Matthews' shot and Marner's skill. They were able to get those goals that a team like the Kraken, what am I trying to say here? That just Toronto's able to capitalize as well, but their defensive issues is what led that series to almost being turned over, and that's kind of what's been the story every single year, is up front offensively. They've got the core four, even if you include Riley being able to bring some offense to the lineup. Now you got Bunting up there as well. Yes, offense is fine, but defensively and goaltending, they've always been terrible. That's always been the issue with Toronto. And now you've got a Florida team that looks ready to freaking rip you to shreds defensively for your issues. And they capitalize. And I think Florida might be the scariest team that Toronto could face up against. Because if they get to the Eastern Conference Finals and they play against, who cares, New Jersey, right? New Jersey, I think Toronto's guys are going to be able to shut them down and outskill their top guys. I would say they're built relatively similar, maybe with Hamilton being the one factor that pushes them over the edge defensively, but I would say they could outplay those guys in all categories. But with the Florida Panthers being able to score on your mistakes, your defensive mistakes, I think Florida's got a real edge in this series here, because they are able to do it. They've got the drive, they got the emotion, they've got the depth, they got everything that you need to win the Stanley Cup. Toronto, you guys have the top guys. You have the higher skill guys, where they have maybe one. Kachuk is their 11-point guy. You have a few guys that can get to that margin, right? And a little bit more that could get a little bit higher than all of their guys put not put together, but you get what I'm saying. You have the 4 elite guys, maybe even 5 elite guys above their 1/2, or depending on how you look at it. But Florida, they've got shutdown guys up front as well. If you look at what Lundell and Barkov bring, they might not get all the points, but they are shutting guys down. They are slowing down the other team, and if they put Barkov and Lundell against the one line that Toronto has, maybe not the one line, but if they put them out there with Nylander, Matthews, and Marner, and those guys are able to shut them down, and they can't generate any offense with those guys, and they have to throw out the other lines, the other 2, 3, 4, 3 lines that they have on this team, it's going to be a world of hurt for Toronto. But the one thing that I would give Toronto the big edge to is they have the story. They've got the momentum. They finally have broken the barrier, and they've gone through the first round in the first 19 years, the first time I've been alive for me to see it happen. Not that I care, but they finally broke through. They've got the city of Toronto, the biggest fan base in the league, behind them, cheering them on, and they believe. And I'm making fun of that because Toronto has absolutely no chance in this series to win. They make too many defensive mistakes, and the Florida Panthers are going to capitalize all over them. Samsonov's not going to be able to do anything in Toronto. They're going to get a couple goals. They're going to get a couple wins. I'd say this series goes to 6, but it's going to be one of those series where, yeah, Toronto just gets a couple more lucky bounces. They get the 4-3 win, but I think this is going to be totally Florida series, and they're going on to the Eastern Conference Finals. But that is all I got to say, so thank you for watching this. If you've enjoyed and gotten to this point, please feel free to pick up your free subscription. I'm begging you, please. And until next time, have an amazing day, too sweet, and ta-ta for now. And let's go Cats!